My name is Mariah Fletcher. I am your host, and welcome to the DEbrief, where the DE brings the news to your ears. This week, we will have the Daily Egyptian senior editor Lylee Gibbs and news editor Jackson Brandhorst talk about the story they have been working on around 6 men that were arrested by ICE in Quoin. I'm here with Lylee and Jackson. Tell me a little bit about what happened last week and how the story went.
So it would have been on January 29th when ICE was conducting surveillance in Perry County. We're not entirely sure why or how, but they pulled over a truck full of Hispanic men, 6 of them to be exact, on their way to work at a sawmill in Quoin. After speaking with the men, they said that it was quite a few unmarked vehicles, ICE and the FBI, who pulled them over early in the morning. Like I said, they were on their way to work. They were arrested, detained. We're not entirely sure for what. We don't know whether these people were in violation of their visa status, if they had proper papers, if they were working here legally or not. We have no idea. They were taken to St. Genevieve Detention Center, which is in St. Genevieve, Missouri. A couple of them were then extradited to a place called Greene County Jail in Springfield, Missouri. And that's about all we know at the moment.
So how is it working around these federal agencies and trying to figure out exactly what's going on? Because I know it has to be hard getting information from the feds.
Yeah, I mean, the whole process was really hard. We spent multiple days, several hours just calling places, just trying to locate the 6 men and to figure out their status because we weren't getting it from anywhere else. People hung up on us mid-call, people didn't pick up, and it was incredibly hard to navigate, what way of contact to go to get the information. I mean, we got there eventually, but it did take longer than anything else I think I've experienced.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the hardest things I've worked on in terms of tracking down information and contacting people. It almost seems as if it's deliberately set up in a way to make it difficult. You know, these people are incredibly busy, right? Doing whatever it is ICE does. They're all over the country. They don't have a massive infrastructure of people that are operating phone lines or, doing their back-end stuff on their websites. So all of these numbers and all of these emails are fairly difficult to find. And even if you do find them, the odds that someone picks up or the odds that someone emails you back is very, very low. So you can do things like submitting FOIA requests, but I've got experience FOIA and ICE. We did it last year when we were covering student visa revocations at SIU, and I didn't hear back from them until about 2 months later. So I knew that really wasn't an option. This is sort of a pressing matter in terms of tracking these people down. There's not a whole lot of time. To my knowledge, we know that a few of these men have already shown interest in being self-deported. So as soon as they're out, they're gone. They're no longer in ICE detention centers. They're no longer in their facilities. They're not going to show up on this thing that's called the detainee locator. ICE has a detainee locator. But the tough part about that is that you have to have the full name of somebody. It has to be completely accurate as they have it in the system, and you have to have their place of origin, where they came from. You can also have a thing called an A number, which stands for alien number, that all of these people have. They have alien numbers. So if you have their alien number, you can get a whole lot more on them. But to get someone's alien number is very difficult too. Like if you're calling as a member of the press, ICE is not going to really give you anything, and they're going to direct you to a press contact. So their press contact, who of course, we're blowing up their phone for the past week, not getting back to us. The phone number that they have listed as being a press contact for the Chicago field office, who was conducting all of this for these specific people, just rings, nothing. When you talk to people at these detention centers, despite being able to look these people up with their full names and their place of origin, over the phone, for some reason, they won't give you any information if you don't have their alien numbers. So we would call them and go back and forth about please, can you please give us this or that? And they're just not playing any games. They're very quick to hang up. Yeah, we had a lot of people hang up on us, which is a bummer. I think a part of being a journalist is pushing people, and we pushed a lot of people throughout the couple of weeks that we were working on this, whether it be local officials or federal officials or anybody involved, even we're knocking on doors in a neighborhood in which we suspect these people are living. We're making those people very uncomfortable too, because this is a sensitive subject. So when you tell someone that you're with the media and you start asking questions about ICE or about the police or about arrests, everybody freezes up and they get really uncomfortable. I think that was sort of a jarring experience to go around that neighborhood, to knock on doors, to have someone open it up who's not expecting you to be there. And you're like, hey, have you seen this person? Do you know about ICE? Like, has the police been around? It's very eye-opening.
Yeah.
And Lylee, you are from Quoin, correct?
Yes. I mean, born and raised. I lived there my entire life up until like 2 years ago when I moved here to Carbondale. But yeah, like I was going to bring back up the knocking on doors. Like, we're in the west side of town. We're in the neighborhood where we think that these people were living. And I will give a lot of credit to the people whose doors we knocked on, because I think maybe 1 or 2 people out of the dozens that we talked to were just like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Like, they were nice enough to be like, well, I don't know, I'm not really sure. I'm sorry, I can't help you. Or they would point us in a different direction. There were a lot of people who were really good about, even if they were uncomfortable, because, someone shows up to your door, of course, like we're all uncomfortable. They were really, really good about pointing us in the right direction and helping us as much as they could. And there were a few people that were like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Why don't you try this? And that was, I think, really nice to like experience, because obviously it's hard, and it's hard to just like walk around and just like knock on people's doors and ask them these random questions. So yeah, I mean, it was very difficult, but we got there in the end.
So with working around, I would say, sensitive subjects such as ICE being in America and the way that it is right now, how do you find yourself being able to report in an unbiased manner?
I think when we were working on this, that thought like doesn't cross your mind until the very end. You're just like grinding through this investigation in this process, and you can only be objective. You're not trying to like curate a story or frame something specifically. You're just trying to gather as much information and make sure it's factual. And that's why you're cross-confirming and verifying things with multiple people throughout the process. So it kind of gets lost on you until it's posted.
Can I add on to this that, I mean, obviously doing journalism, like the motto is to do no harm. And this isn't the first scenario that I've been in where you want to be careful and you want to be like asking the tough questions while also not affecting the people that you're asking. Like I've done a few photo projects on gun violence and things like that it's just when you're actively doing it, I don't think that that's on your mind. It's just, how do I tell the story while I'm also not harming or the people around me, or how am I telling the story while doing it ethically and respectfully? 'Cause it, like there are multiple parties involved for all of us when we're reporting. And I think just making sure that we're all on the same page and the people, 'cause, obviously there's lack of media literacy as well, like making sure that we're doing our job and not leaving a negative impression on people.
And no matter what it is that you're going to report on, there's going to be one person that's going to say, well, I feel like it might be a little bit biased. And I think you guys did do an incredible job of keeping it very factual in one way.
I think the reception we got, even by people who, whatever stance they take on it, thank you, ICE, or go away, ICE, whoever it was, all of them, the reception was like, all right, seems fairly objective. And like, I don't think because you're literally so invested in it that you cannot think of anything else other than to like, this is all I know. I have no innuendo about anything else.
There was a lot of, like, I don't recall ever seeing one comment that was like, oh, well, it's clear that you guys feel this way or that way. 'Cause we get that a lot reporting here at the Daily Egyptian, that people, we make mistakes, for students, and people tend to amplify that in the comments, but I felt like I didn't see this a lot.
This is an ongoing story. This will be something that we continue to cover as it develops. You've got stories that have come out even from the state where it takes a year to figure out what happened to these people, where they went, whether or not they were supposed to be there. Some of these guys are going to go to court for this, whether or not they fight it, whether or not they get representation. Counsel is still up in the air. So we've made contact with the detained We've made contact with volunteers that are assisting them through this process, and we'll continue to submit FOIA requests and to talk to local agencies and federal agencies to paint, a better picture of what exactly went down throughout those couple of days. And yeah, we'll continue to report.
Can I add something? I do want to talk about how this was the furthest south in Illinois that this has been reported. And earlier last year, there was plenty of people online that were like, ICE is here, ICE is in Carbondale, ICE is here. We spent a lot of time calling people. It all ended up being false alarms or dead ends. But now we know that they're here. So, I wouldn't be shocked if we see this in other towns. And this is more reporting we do in other towns. We've confirmed it this time.
Our guest speaker this week is Marquez, co-owner of Project Human X and Community Art Center and Gallery here in Carbondale. He offers open studio art classes and has a business administration degree here at SIU. He opened the business with his wife, who studied biological anthropology at SIU and has traveled around the world teaching through art. So tell me, what is the story about how your business started up?
All right, here we go. We're going to dive in. So I'm going to start by saying I did not officially get my degree at SIU. So close, but that's where the story starts. So going to SIU, one day I get a call. I literally had just got out of class. I'll never forget. It was philosophy. And my mom tells me she got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Challenging time. I'm lost for words. I'm a broke college student, don't got a car. Mom's telling me she's got 6 months to live. And I'm like, wow, do I stay in school, right? And she wanted me to. And I tried. I tried to, but my heart told me spending time with her was more important. And so that's where the journey of me falling in love with art began. I was stressed out and looking for a stress reliever, and I found painting. I didn't know how to paint anything. I couldn't paint a face, couldn't paint a tree. I'm like, man, should I keep doing this? But I just felt good, putting paint on the canvas. And so I fell in love with abstract art, just putting colors, shapes, just, getting out the feelings that I was experiencing. And I kept going. I would, take my art supplies home with me when I go see my mom. We go to chemotherapy. First it was every other week, then it was every week. And I would be there in the hospital with her, painting, making art. And it helped me to get through that dark and challenging time with her. After time, I started to realize, like, if this is so healing for me, maybe it could be good for other people too. And I wanted to host an art party. Now, at the time, I was like, where do I do this at, right? So I had a friend. He had a cool apartment, and I was like, bro, can I host an art party here? And I was like, I want to put canvases on the walls, have a table full of art supplies, and just let people, come dance, have fun, listen to good music, and make art. And so I did that. So that was the first official Project Human X party. And it was a blast. Way more people came than I expected. And my beautiful wife, Cree, she came to that first party. So I'll never forget it. She walked in and like the light was shining on her, most beautiful woman in the room. I'm intimidated. I'm like, oh no, I can't mess this one up. She was creating a incredible work of art. And so, that's the love story. I'll save that for another podcast. We connected, and she offered for me to host the next art party at her apartment. So it was like a level up. She had, I would say, probably like one of the coolest apartments on the strip in Carbondale. It was like right above Mary Lou's, if you're familiar. And we host the next party, and it gets bigger, right? More people come, and it was just like this is a thing, people like these art parties. People were experiencing, the beauty of, being creative and being creative together as well. And so we kept going to the point where there was a line out the door of people wanting to come to the parties. And we were like, okay, maybe we could find a bigger place and take it to the next level again. And so, we started hunting for locations, and we quickly realized, like, we can't afford this. We were like broke college students. Rent for businesses is really expensive, like $1,500, $2,000 a month. And so I was like, okay, well, nice try, maybe in the future. But then we came across this one space in this building called the Island, and super cool old guy. His name was Herb. Herb has passed away now, rest in peace to him. But he had a space that was vacant, and it was like uninhabitable. Best way I could put it. Whoever the last tenants were, they just left it, not in good shape for a guy like him. He was like 80 years old, and he was just like, look, guys, I can't take care of this anymore. If you guys are willing to clean this space up, I'll give you a really good deal. And I was like, well, this might just be the opportunity for us to make this happen. And I'll never forget Cree's face whenever she walked in there. I got a picture of her face. I was like, I gotta save this moment. She was like, this is not it, right? Spider webs on the walls and stuff. And I just had a vision. I was like, this is it. Like we could transform this space and do something really cool for this community. And I'm so grateful that she believed in me and my vision. And so we did it. We got the space cleaned up. And November 15th, 2019, we hosted the first PHX art party in that space. And it was incredible. It was incredible. 3 months before the pandemic. Yeah, that's how that story went. So we got 3 months of like normal humanity, right? People, wanting to come out and party and have a good time. And just so beautiful to see the community connecting through art, just experiencing the healing benefits of it, collaborating with each other, making art. And then that time period came, that March. And it's wild because during that time, me and Cree had a baby on the way. Okay, I got to give you the whole timeline. All right, so my mother passed us away in May 2019. Me and Cree learned we have a baby on the way in June 2019. So a month later, right, I'm like, wow, this is wild. Mom's gone. I got a daughter on the way. Okay. I was like, if there's any time for me to start a business, I got to do it now, right? Because, what am I going to do once the baby gets here? And so we take the leap of faith, get the business going. We have our child March 10th. My daughter's name Masterpiece. One of my greatest creations. I got a son now, so I literally have to say one of my greatest creations, right? His name is Artiste. So that's my heart and my soul there. But March 10th, and then March 20th. That's when everything shut down. Governments, like all businesses, you have to close your doors. I lost my other job. I was a server at a restaurant. And I'm like, wow, what a time to be alive. My mom's gone, just had my daughter, just got laid off from my job, and I got to close the business I just started, right? So that's how the story goes. I think it's worth turning into a movie one day, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, we just kept our faith. We kept believing that, we didn't do all of that for nothing, so we started like doing online art classes and selling paint kits, and somehow we made it through. We made it through that time period, and we realized how important art was to humanity, and that there was a way to, sustain ourselves through being creative. And so that was like a silver lining during that dark time.
I wanted to ask you, how did you see your art change? Because it seems like you like to express emotions on the canvas. How did you see that change from when you were falling in love? Is there any certain piece that really just like encapsulates the way that you were feeling towards certain parts of these times, or even with grief or with all this new things coming about?
That's such a wonderful question. Wow. I see why they hired you. Before my mother passed away, my art was really primary. Like I was using the primary colors a lot. At that time, I felt like Superman. I was like, you know what? I'm going to save my mother, I'm going to help her beat cancer. And so that's the energy that I had. And then when she passed away, my art became really gray. And I didn't really recognize it, but Cree, she would tell me, she's like, you make a lot of art with gray in it. And I was like, Yeah, I think you're right. I do that now, and so I definitely went through a gray period, kind of like Pablo Picasso in his blue period, and then from there, it was great for a while. It was great for a while, and I really started to refine my artistry in those coming years because we started teaching art classes, and Cree was definitely more of a skilled artist than I was. I was just like a cold abstract artist. Like I made good abstract art, but if you ask me to make something real, it's like I'm like scratching my head, like that's not me. Let's call Cree in. And so I learned a lot from her. I learned a lot from other artists. I was blessed to learn a lot from art professors at SIU. Yeah, just building lots of great connections. Shout out to Professor Najjar, one of the best art instructors, teachers, professors I've ever met. But yeah, I started to get good and making realistic things, and then my art started becoming more colorful, all the way to this new language of color that I've created. But that's a topic that we'll save for later.
So you have an art exhibit called The Language of Color. It was open last year from January until May in the Sharp Museum here on campus. And that was your first art exhibit at only 28 years old, correct?
Yeah, you're right. 28.
So what is the story behind this exhibit?
It's the best story. It's the story of my life. Shout out to Wes Stoger, the art director of the Sharp Museum at that time. Miracles happen because of other humans, and it's the connections that you have. And between him, other art professors, community members that see the beauty in the work that I do. That's what opened the door for me to be a 28-year-old showing my art in a museum. It's kind of like a dream that most people wouldn't believe could happen that soon. But this vision that I have of creating a new language of color is one that starts in my childhood. So I'm gonna paint a picture real fast. I'm gonna give the medium version of the story. So my mother, she's battling cancer. Her last week of life, she was unable to speak to me, and I'll never forget. Even before that, there was like a couple days before that period where I realized, I was like, man, I think my mother's getting ready to pass away. It was like a tough realization, but things just started changing. And I'll never forget, she was sitting in the same place and she was meditating for a very long time. I had never seen my mother meditate before. I was like, wow, this is unique. But I was like, you know what? I need to start asking her questions that I won't be able to ask her, when she's gone. And, so I asked her questions like, what was it like giving birth to me? What was it like when you first held me? What was I like as a child? And, I'll never forget, she had told me, she was like, when you were a kid, there was something special about you. You were different, like you would be talking about colors and like almost speaking a different language and talking about shapes. And I was like, she's like, I never quite understood, but I knew that you knew what you were talking about, and I knew that I had a special kid. And so that kind of went over my head at that time because I wasn't even thinking about creating this language yet. But this is me just kind of like connecting the dots as I look back throughout my life. And so that happens. Okay. Last week of my mother's life, she's not able to talk anymore. And I'm like, wow, I don't know what my last words are going to be to my mom, And so I'm just like thinking of all of the loving, appreciative things that I can say, and really like meditating on the power of words and language. And, so that experience, and then her passing away, it kind of left this long lasting impression on me of just like, when I talk to people, I'm like, I don't know, these might be my last words to you, because life is short. And so I try to appreciate every relationship that I have, and just speak life and love into the people around me. And this idea of creating a new language, it kind of came out of nowhere. and I started, exploring it. Cree, she's fascinating. She had went to Madagascar, Africa, where she, was in this new language environment. In Madagascar, the language is Malagasy. And I'll never forget, she would like be talking to me about the language and like words that she had learned. And she also, was learning Spanish and things. And I was just like, you're just really interested in language at that time when my mother had passed away. And she introduced this idea to me that's called conlanging. Have you guys ever heard of that before? I have not. Conlanging. Okay, it's pretty cool. So conlanging is like shorthand for like constructed languages. So like there's like movies like Star Trek, where they like made a whole language to go with it, Avatar, things of that nature. And so I realized like, wow, we can create languages. That's pretty cool, So I started to explore what would it be like to create a language. And long story short, this idea of creating a language out of color, it emerged out of that time. And so, okay, here's the twist. All right. So I have this idea. Mother passed away, right? So I'm left all of her things. And that was a tough experience for me. I have to go back, to our home and like just go through the stuff and like figure out what to let go of, what to keep. And so I find this pouch of art that I had never seen before that she kept of mine when I was a child. And so inside of this pouch, there was this piece of art where I was like writing in this language of color when I was a kid, but I had no clue. Like I completely forgot about it. Right. So it was like a full circle moment for me of like, wow, I thought that I was having like this original idea, but I was actually like kind of like stealing from the younger me. Right. And so, yeah, fast forward to here I am, this sometimes I want to call myself a thriving artist, but I'm still like, it's like a high and low. It's like, some months it's like I'm struggling, some months I'm thriving, but that's life though. But yeah, I took this language all the way and I started making art in it. There's currently 550 words in the language. I got a dictionary I'll show you guys. It's digital. I'm really proud of it. I put a lot of work into it. So yeah, that's how the museum show came about. That's the medium version.
So you are wearing a hoodie that has your language on it, and it has a bunch of different colors, and they're different shapes, different sizes. Explain to me, are these words themselves, or are they the letters that go into the words?
Yeah. So the language, it is, each color is a different letter. And so there's 12 letters in the language. I'm going to show you. I know the people that's listening, they're going to be like, dang, I wish I could see this.
Do you have a website?
I do have a website. It's called languagexart.com. And you can follow me on Instagram, and I got a TikTok now. I don't use TikTok, but I pay somebody to run my TikTok, because TikTok's addicting. You got to protect your mind out here. But yeah, this is the alphabet right there. Yeah, 12 letters, 12 colors. That took me like 3 years to create. Yeah. I had to study other languages, color psychology, child language development. And so, yeah, long story short, on my hoodie, yeah, each color is a different letter. And so these are words. So I'm going to tell you what it says. So I'm going to read it in the new language so you hear what it sounds like, and then I'll translate it into English. So this says, Nirapo, Ara Ink, Mobipo, Wise, Rasa, Ka, Mitsanapo. So in English, this says peaceful, loving, faithful, wise, strong, and grateful.
Awesome. That is so cool. And your wife's trip from Madagascar, from what I understand, kind of inspired you to get going with this new language?
Yeah, just hearing, new language, just remembering that English isn't the only language, it's kind of easy to think that, right? When you just like stay in America and you never hear other people speaking other languages. A place like SIU is, unique because you're surrounded by people from all these different cultures. But yeah, that was definitely one of the many inspirations.
And this seems to be kind of a universal language as well, or it could be because it doesn't have intricate letters. It is described through colors, correct? You
got it. Yeah, that was one of my goals when designing it, is how to make it as universal for all humans as possible.
So why do you think that creating art is so important in this day and age that we're currently in?
with AI, such a game changer for humanity. AI is a creation, that humans have created, but it's the creation that is creating infinite creations, right? And so for us humans during this time period, I feel like it's already happening. There's a renaissance that's emerging. I like to call it Renaissance X. That's an idea that we got at Project Human X, where humans have a reason to create more original art because of this AI world that we're living in. And I feel like we're moving in a direction where human creations, the value of them will increase again.
I think that people are craving something new because we keep seeing the old repeated patterns. And I think in this next upcoming few years, I think that creatives are going to thrive.
I think that artists are more important than politicians. I wanna plug all the artists in Southern Illinois. I think that this is a very special place. We are rich in original, talented artists. Being here for 6 years, I've really got a chance to connect with the most incredible artists. And a lot of them come through Project Human X. It's a great way to meet and connect with new artists. We showcase art from local artists. We have art on our website from local artists. Project Human X is a great place to come and, experience your own creativity, so you don't have to know anything. You can be a beginner, but we've got classes for people of all kinds, painting, mosaics, stained glass, pottery, etc. So, go to projecthumanx.com, check out what we got going on, support some local artists. I'm gonna finish this by saying thank you in Language X. So, Mitsan Apo. Thank you.
I am your host, Mariah Fletcher. See the Daily Egyptian online at dailyegyptian.com. Our print edition is all around campus and Southern Illinois. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and LinkedIn. You've got questions and we have answers. Send us your questions and opinions at editor@dailyegyptian.com or DM us on Facebook and Instagram, and we might just answer your question next week. In the meantime, this has been the DEbrief. See you next week.